Hey, hello. Check, check. Sound is working. Welcome back, and thanks for tuning in again. I have a pretty bad cold, but it's just an excuse to record another video. Some tea? Let's start with my channel. Okay. Lately, I get a lot of requests saying, hey, some of these Ladybugtools videos are really outdated. If I'm considered to update these, and some of the tools are not there anymore. And I looked at my channel and realized some of these videos are 2.5 years old, between 2.5 and 3 years old, and they're pretty outdated. Some of them are done with the legacy tools, and most of you guys already moved on to the new Ladybug tools, which is great. And then I did a video where I had a phase where I thought I put some background music, which was not a good idea. It's just distracting, and some people got really angry. I don't know. I completely understand. It's completely unnecessary. It's just distracting. I did a series on Honeybee, which I think is pretty valid until now. And I did a series on Dragonfly. And then I realized actually I never did a series on Ladybug itself. I did videos, but kind of in a random order. And I thought, actually, it's better if we go through with the new Ladybug tools through Ladybug. Alright, let's start. This is Ladybug 2023. Version 1.6. I'm in Rhino 7 and I opened Grasshopper and I have my installed Ladybugtools 1.6. In this video I will not explain how to install it. I just did a video two weeks ago or 3 weeks ago on how to install the Ladybugtools. Follow that guide and it should all work. And please follow it to the end because you need to install certain additional third-party software, and it explains exactly which version you need to look at if you have that and that Ladybugtools version. Alright, so now we can start. Ladybugtools come with Ladybug, with Honeybee, and also Honeybee Radiance, which is here, Honeybee Energy, and Dragonfly. These are the 4 elements. Ladybug has these subcategories: import data, analyze data, visualize data, analyze geometry, and extras. And then it has a bit more here: Ladybug sync grasshopper file, Ladybug versioner, and so on. We will only concentrate on the first bit, and we will make a very simple chart just to get a bit, just that we can see something, what's happening. And I will, so there are different ways to get data. And we talk about weather data, the E+ weather data, to be specific. And there are different ways to load it into Grasshopper. It's actually, there's only one method really, but there are 2 ways to do it. So we have this tool here on the top, Ladybug download weather. By the way, in the new Ladybugtools, you don't need to have, there was this tool which you had to run always when you had any Ladybug script, you had to run the Ladybug. And you don't need to do that anymore. This is automatic. I will put here the bifocals. This is a very nice tool to show the name of the tool as well. I like the symbols. You can see here there's a weather URL and there's a folder. So that's why there are 2 methods. But let's get the weather data first. So we have this second tool here is the E+ weather map. It says E+ weather map, and then it has a report output. We don't really need the output, but we'll see what happens. So what we need in order to run this, it says if we hover over this, set to true to open E+ weather map in a supported browser. So we could go here and say true. And then it goes to a browser. That's one way. You can also put a toggle, a Boolean toggle, which does the same. It does really the same. It's either true or false. That has the advantage that you can turn it off and on. So I can turn it off, on, and we going to the Ladybugtools E+ weather map. This is not the only resource, but it's for me the most easiest to access because of the button, because of the tool. You just go in there, click on it, and you already go there. You already go to your weather map. And then you can see the different sources have different colors. Sometimes they don't work. and then it's good to know to find an alternative source. There's also other websites where you can get the E+ weather data. But yeah, we stick with this. I will go to Sardinia. Let's go to Sardinia. It doesn't really matter. Alghero. Copy link to clipboard. So there are two ways to do it. We can download or we can copy to clipboard. I will show you the copy to clipboard method. Now I just clicked. You don't see anything happening. I just clicked and it's already there. Now I just open a panel and I double click in there. I paste my URL and you can see it links me to the server or the URL where it is, to the file, to the zip file of that weather data. And I can place it here. This is the URL input. And as soon as that becomes gray, then it's ready. And sometimes it's good to check what's actually in there. Also what's in the report, maybe you can have a check. Opening E+ weather map. For example, if you wouldn't have an internet connection, it might tell you don't have internet. And I can also go here. And now you see that it was actually, this stuff was actually copied, unzipped and copied into my user location on my computer. And the stats file was placed here and the design day file was placed in here as well. So there's actually 3 files in that zip file and it was all copied in here. You can alternatively create a folder where you want this to be placed. If I, for example, have a different folder where I want to store it, I can take that folder, copy that folder location and place that here, and then whatever comes from the URL goes in here and be placed into this folder, into the folder I specified. I can also go to that folder, open it and link to a certain file directly. That's also possible. So if I go here, shift and copy as path, I can also directly access that file by providing the location on my computer. I'll show you later how that works. Now let's move on. The next tool here is the Ladybug import weather E+ weather weather data. So if I put this here, I can now grab it and place the E+ weather file in here. And let's make a very simple chart. That's always good. An hourly plot for the whole year. It's always nice. There we don't really need to know anything about, and we can just plug it in and you see something. That's it's always great. I could put the dry pulp temperature, for example, here. Put it in here, and it already gives me a chart. I maybe want to hide my grid here. So it already gives me a chart for the whole year. Temperature, it's all there. Really convenient. The location, the country, time zone, the source, and from which day to which day and which time. So you can look at all these different datas here. Not all datas work with that hourly rate chart, so that's why it gives you this weird output. So let's stick with the temperature. There's also a stat file and the design day file in here. There's another tool here, import location. Sometimes you don't need to have any, you only need the location. It's just an additional tool here because you can, if you only need a location, like the coordinates of that specific location, then you just need this. You can also have it here. So the location is stored here as well. It's the same. Sometimes you only need the location so you don't need to load all this data. What else? You can construct the location. That is if you need a location but you don't have weather data and you know the location of your project, then you can create your own. That's you generate the name, and at the end you get something like Alghero, latitude 40.63, longitude 8.28, and time zone is 1 and elevation is 40. And then you just need to put in here your project, and that creates the same output. So in case you have a project you want to measure, I don't know, sunlight, sun hours, where you don't necessarily need the weather data, then but you need the location, then you can create your own location. Pretty handy. Deconstruct location is the opposite. So you take a location and you get the individual output here. The name, latitude, longitude, separate, time zone, elevation, and so on. The next tool in the line is the design day. Design day file. Sometimes it's a bit inconsistent. I would put the stats first. But anyway, statistics. It also has a location. I can place it in the stat file. It gives me already prefabricated information out of that data set, out of the E plus weather data. It gives me also the location. It gives me the ash ray zone, very important for the US, the Köppen zone, and other outputs. Annual heat design day. We will talk about this in the later videos. But for example, it gives you stuff like very useful for, especially for outdoor comfort analysis. Extreme cold week, extreme hot week. It gives you time periods basically where certain things happen or which are representative for that specific location. And then there's design days, representative sample days. Because sometimes you want to analyze certain days. As you can remember, we put the location of the file in here, and that also works. You can don't have to do this from here, although it's very convenient. I could also put my Ladybug weather data on this folder and just plug it in here. That also works. Just grab this here and place it in here. It's the same result. I could, for example, now go here and extreme cold week and go here and put this in here. Then it will only give me this specific period of time. Underscore always means mandatory input. If there's an underscore at the beginning and an underscore at the end, it means it's mandatory, but it already has a default value. So in that case, it's just base point. It's just the location where it should be placed. And then there are these where there's the underscore only at the end. That means it's not mandatory, but it can have an input. Like, for example, the period. Let's go to the Deconstruct design day. In here, there are design days, as I said before. Representative days in the year, which you can use in order to run other tools in Honeybee, in Ladybug and Honeybee, and so on. Dragonfly also uses design days in some occasions, I think. Now, another way to look at it is you can deconstruct design days, you can import design days. So if I take this here, and you also have a location, by the way, but if I put the design days, it shows me, okay, there are 18 values in there. There's actually 18 different days in there. I could choose from that. I could, for example, use human. Human has this incredible tool to select an item, and you could here choose one of these design days. For example, summer design day, and now there's just one day in here, loaded one day. It tells you the data type, the location again, a date, the 21st of August, dry pulp maximum temperature, the dry pulp range, and so on. Barometric pressure, wind speed, wind direction, sky type, sky properties, and so on. There's also, which is very similar, it's interesting that there's import design day and there's deconstruct design days, because it has similar outputs as well. Here's, for example, also the wind speed, but we can compare. So again, I could load all of these 18 days, but it makes things a bit complicated, especially if I put a date, like a chart on it. So if I use the same chart here and I put here the dry pulp temperature, for example, again, then it will give me a chart for each of these days. Here's the colder days, and then the hotter days. It's a bit hard to look at, so again, we can choose only one day. Let's choose the same day, and now it only gives me one day. And of course, I could have two of these outputs, and for example, put the maximum. Oh, that doesn't work. Try maximum. It doesn't matter. We can also put just the panel here. That is the 34.2, and you can see here the range is actually from 22.5 to 34.2 on that specific day. You can also translate the Ladybug data collection into the Ladybug legacy format, and you can produce your own design day. Interestingly, never used this before, so I always also learn something new. And you can it's interesting. So you could create a new folder. Let's try that. Just create a new folder. So if I now create a new folder here, then I can place that here, and I just need a toggle. Again, you could either write here true, or you just use a Boolean toggle, which is this one. Now nothing's written yet, so I can just go on true, and now there's an output, again using the panel to look at it, an output, and now it actually wrote a design day in here, a design day file. Now I'm very curious now if this is exactly the same. Does it create like something very similar? I mean, are these days randomly chosen or not? I don't know. I don't know exactly how they are generated and by which criteria they are selected. Okay, if I would go in here now, okay, it created 2 design days, one for winter and one for summer. So I guess they are probably the most representative for winter or for summer. I think that's quite okay for a first video on Ladybug. Hey. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Despite my nasal voice from the cold, you don't want to get that, what I have. It's really annoying. Nevertheless, I hope you see in the next video. I'm looking really forward to it. I also learned something new, and it's gonna be interesting. See you soon.